A year ago, I began filming my new movie, Am I Racist? The goal of the movie was to go deep undercover into the world of DEI and show how bad the problem really is. There'll be some moments in the movie that just seem too crazy to be real, but I assure you it is all real and it has been a real problem for a while. To prove to you how big of an issue DEI is, I wanted to take you on a trip down memory lane of some recent real-world examples of anti-white racism. But before we do that, check out the trailer for Am I Racist? Visit amирacist.com to check out showings and buy tickets at a theater near you. Now enjoy the trailer.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gon' say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
White.
Folks,
White.
trash, white supremacy, white woman, white boy.
Is there a black person around? What's a black person right here? Does he not
They gon'
exist?
say I'm racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gon' say you racist.
Buy your tickets now. In theaters September 13th. Rated PG-13.
Well, during all the recent controversy surrounding Kanye West and his statements, we have heard quite a lot about the dangers of demonizing and scapegoating entire groups of people. We've heard condemnations of hate and of hateful language. We've heard that there's a rising tide of hate and prejudice and that it's getting worse by the day, especially now that Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. Allegedly, that's made it all worse. And it's true, of course, that we shouldn't demonize groups. That part is true. I agree with the people who warn against such bigotries. The problem is that many of those people do not agree with themselves. And if they are wondering why their anti-hate sermons, their homilies of love and togetherness, tend to fall on deaf ears as the alleged hate tide continues to rise despite their protests, they may want to take a long look in the mirror. The fact is that the very system now thrown into hysteria about the dangers of fanatical racism has itself fanatically promoted racism for many years and continues to do so today. Now, you can call this whataboutism. I don't really care. I am unapologetically saying what about. What about is a perfectly valid argument that needs to be brought up very often. So what about the openly genocidal racism that the corporate media, Hollywood, academia, the left generally pushes without apology and without shame every single day? What about it? Are we ever going to talk about it? Are any of the eager denouncers ever going to get around to denouncing that? Well, I know the answer, but I asked the question anyway, rhetorically. Last night, thanks to a repost from Chris Rufo, a video went viral of a Rutgers professor named Brittany Cooper speaking at an online conference hosted by a popular website called The Root. Now, this video is actually from a year ago, went viral back then, and I may have even mentioned it on the show back then, but the ensuing outrage, almost entirely coming from conservatives on social media, amounted to absolutely nothing. Cooper was not fired, was not suspended, was not denounced or even lightly reprimanded. Nothing. She's still teaching college students today. This in spite of the fact that she was on camera preaching the most virulent form of anti-white racism imaginable. Just watch.
I think that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate. The real sort of issue here, and I've heard people sort of say it, is one, I think that white people viscerally fear. It's not that white people don't know, right, what they have done. They know. They fear that there is no other way to be human but the way in which they are human, which is to, so, like you talk to white people and whenever you really want to have a reckoning about it, they say stuff like, it's just human nature. If y'all had all of this power, you would have done the same thing, right? And it's like, no, that's what white humans did. White human beings thought there's a world here and we own it. Prior to them, Black and brown people have been sailing across oceans, interacting with each other for centuries without total subjugation, domination, and colonialism. We have seen what a show this iteration of treatment of other human beings means, and that my hope is that we would do it differently in the moments when we have some power.
White people are committed to being villains, she says. Now, put any other group in that sentence, and she loses her job. Black people are committed to being villains. Asian people are committed to being villains. Gay people are committed to being villains. Jews are committed to being villains. Literally any other group at all in that sentence, and it becomes the sort of statement that her career cannot survive. And we haven't even heard the worst of it yet, not even close. Perhaps more troubling, given her profession, is the hallucinatory version of world history that Brittany Cooper, who refers to herself, by the way, as Professor Crunk, offers up. And we haven't heard the worst of that yet either. She says that black and brown people were sailing around the world and interacting with each other without wars of conquest, without subjugation, without colonization. There's nothing to say about that claim except that it is totally, absurdly, ridiculously false. There is not a shred of truth to it. Whichever groups qualify as black or brown, especially those groups that lived in North America or Africa, what we know for certain is that they were slaughtering and enslaving each other without mercy since time immemorial. European empires did not invent the idea of subjugating a foreign land and turning it into a vassal state. And they didn't even practice the most brutal form of the practice. This was utterly commonplace across the entire globe for millennia. So Professor Crunk is either so dumb as to qualify as medically brain damaged, or she's a hateful, lying propagandist, or perhaps some combination of both, and that's what I suspect. She continues by offering her solution to the white problem, her final solution, we might say. Listen.
That's the thing that white people don't trust us to do because they are so corrupt. Their thinking is so morally and spiritually bankrupt about power that they can't they fear viscerally, existentially letting go of power because they cannot imagine that there's another way to be. It is either that you dominate or you are dominated. And isn't it sad that is spiritually who they are and that they can't imagine a sort of more expansive notion of the world? The thing I want to say to you is we got to take these out. But we can't say that, right? We can't say, I don't believe in a project of violence. I truly don't. Because I think in the end that our souls suffer from that. The world didn't start when white people arrived in America and tried to tell all the rest of us how things were going to go. There were people out here making worlds, Africans and indigenous people being brilliant and, libraries and inventions and, vibrant notions of humanity and cross-cultural exchange long before white people showed up being raggedy and violent and terrible and trying to take everything from everybody.
So we hear again her Fantasyland alternate retelling of world history, adding in the detail that Africans somehow made it to North America before Europeans. She then imagines that indigenous people had libraries, which would be difficult considering that most of the tribes didn't even have a written language, much less did they have books. And she says that they lived peacefully until raggedy white people introduced violence to the Western Hemisphere. And she's right. North America was entirely free of violence before first contact with Europeans. Free of violence if you don't count scalping, cannibalism, human sacrifice, rape, pillage, murder, war, slavery, conquest, etc. Other than all of that, it was quite peaceful, really. Not that Professor Crunk is an advocate of peace. She says herself that she really wants to take these mother effers out, that they're corrupt, and she wants to take these mother effers out. Again, just imagine, black people are so corrupt. We need to take these mother effers out. Gay people are so corrupt. We need to take these mother effers out. Jews are so corrupt. We need to take these mother effers out. Any of those statements, and you are done forever. You're never getting another job. You're getting deplatformed from everything. You're losing your bank accounts. You are losing everything. Unless you put white people in there. The only reason she stopped short of fully promoting such a strategy is that she can't say that, she says. And besides, she's worried that exterminating white people might be injurious to the souls of their exterminators. And she's right about that second part, but not the first. In fact, she can say that she wants to murder all white people. She did say it. And she suffered no consequence whatever for doing so. Later in the video, she speaks wistfully and hopefully about the coming end of whiteness and assures herself and the audience that, eventually white people will be extinct and non-white people can get back to living in peace without the, quote, inconvenience of their presence. It is, again, in summary, a genocidally hateful and racist diatribe. She is calling for, or at the very least, fantasizing openly about, the extermination of an entire race of people. And she presented this to a media publication on video and suffered no consequence for it. You can, in fact, in this country, openly call for the extermination of white people without the slightest worry that any legal, professional, or reputational damage will result. Just ask Nick Cannon. He is currently, as he has been for several years, the host of The Masked Singer on Fox. He's had high-paying, high-profile jobs on national TV for the better part of this century. And yet, infamously, he has openly called white people savages and postulated that their lack of, quote, melanin makes them subhuman. Let's just take a trip down memory lane and watch this again. It's from a couple of years ago, and here's what Nick Cannon said.
Melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul that we call it. We call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us.
Right.
So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less. And where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages.
Acting as animals, says the guy that has like 10 kids with 6 different women or something. After that podcast interview, Nick Cannon did, for a short period, lose his job, which he quickly regained and has gotten back to his TV career without any issue. But the momentary slap on the wrist only came because during the same podcast, he said that black people are, quote, the true Hebrews, which is an incoherent talking point we've also heard from Kanye West. Also, not nearly as vicious or hateful as what he said about white people generally. So Cannon was chastised for the true Hebrews comment. He even briefly lost his job for it. But there was never any chastisement, never any denouncement from any notable person or organization for literally calling all white people subhuman, animalistic savages. Because that's the kind of thing you're allowed to say. Not just allowed to say, but rewarded for saying. Anti-white bigotry is not simply tolerated, it is celebrated. Professor Crunk and Nick Cannon aren't living in a vacuum. These viciously anti-white sentiments can be heard from celebrities, from college professors, from government officials, and many others. The sentiments are expressed out loud, enacted into law. They are set as policy, embedded into the system. The Biden administration gave out COVID relief according to a racial hierarchy with whites at the bottom, where I suppose these savage, animalistic villains belong. As far as interracial violence goes, all the hate leading to violence, well, okay, let's talk about that. Twice as many white people fall victim to interracial homicide as commit it, and that's just homicides. We haven't even, we've seen many videos of groups of people in one race stomping the hell out of an individual of another race, but the victim in those videos is almost always white. We have rarely, if ever, seen it go the other way. Certainly not recently. What this tells us is that anti-white racism is permissible in our culture. It is the only totally permissible bigotry that remains. And because it is permissible, it is also dangerous. It is the most dangerous. There are other kinds of bigotry that exist. But if society generally condemns a form of bigotry, then the danger that bigotry can pose is very much mitigated because it is condemned by almost everyone and certainly by almost all the most powerful people. It's not how it goes with anti-white racism. And nobody who speaks out against racism or bigotry and yet neglects to specifically denounce anti-white racism should be taken seriously. That's what this comes down to. If you're wondering why nobody can take you seriously, it's because you see what we just played there, and you either don't care or you applaud. And that's why.
Using your internet without ExpressVPN, it's like leaving your keys in your car while you run into the gas station for a snack. Most of the time, you're probably fine, but what if you come back to see someone driving off with your car? You wouldn't want that. I spend a lot of time talking about the threats to our values and way of life. There's another threat lurking that many of us aren't even aware of. Digital predators waiting to steal your personal information. Every time you connect to public Wi-Fi at a coffee shop, airport, or hotel, you might as well be handing your passwords and credit card numbers to the sketchy guy in the corner. And trust me, that guy doesn't need to be some elite hacker. Even a tech-savvy middle schooler could swipe your data with some cheap equipment. Now, I'm not saying you need to live in fear or become a digital hermit, but you do need to protect yourself. That's why I use ExpressVPN and why I'm telling all of you to use it too. ExpressVPN creates an encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Their encryption is so strong it would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to crack. Just one click on their app and you're protected on all of your devices. It's no wonder that CNET and The Verge named ExpressVPN the #1 VPN in the world. Look, your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 selling your info on the dark web. Don't let the digital vultures profit off of your personal information. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/WalshYT. That's expressvpn.com/WalshYT. And you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/WalshYT. A viral controversy yesterday erupted on social media as a former NFL running back by the name of Rashard Mendenhall tweeted something extremely racist. He tweeted, "I'm sick of average white guys commenting on football. Y'all not even good at football. Can we please replace the Pro Bowl with an all-black versus all-white bowl so these cats can stop trying to teach me who's good at football? I'm better than your GOAT." I think he means GOAT, like greatest of all time, not an actual goat on a farm. Although he did not, he wrote in the lowercase, so I don't know. Now, again, obviously very racist. It's also funny coming from this guy. Like, he's complaining about average white guys, but during his NFL career, he was the epitome of average. He played for 6 years, which is like, and then he washed out of the league, which is pretty average. Yards per carry for his career was less than 4, about 3.9 yards per carry, very average. He had like maybe 1 or 2 good years, and the rest were unremarkable. And that's, and it's like it all equals out to very average. He's best known for fumbling the ball in the Super Bowl, costing his team the game, Steelers. And it was a fumble that was caused by a hit from a white defender. So I don't know if that's maybe where all this animosity is coming from. I don't know. And it is also worrying when you see tweets like this. Like, it's worrying to see just how open and casual people are with their anti-white racism these days. Like, it's getting worse over time. And that's all by design, of course. And that's really the headline here. If there is a headline to be found in some washed up former NFL player being racist, that's the headline. With that said, though, since he brought up the subject, I have to say, and like many others, I was actually thinking about this, and an all black versus all white game would be kind of interesting. And, I think our roster would be much more impressive than most people seem to think. I kind of like our squad. I got to be honest. Like, I kind of like it. I mean, starting quarterback, we got Josh Allen. Obviously, running backs, Christian McCaffrey is probably going to be the MVP, or should be the MVP. He's the best running back in the league. So already we've got Allen and McCaffrey back there. So the whites are doing pretty well as far as that goes. The O-line is no problem. Can easily fill that out. You get out, and then you get to tight end, the tight end position, and it's an embarrassment of riches. I mean, Kittle, Kelsey, Mark Andrews if he's healthy, Hawkinson, Laporta. So we're going to run 3 and 4 tight end sets all game. And we're a little more thin at the wide receiver position. Cooper Kupp, though, we're going to have him there. And we'll be compensating, though, with a lot of tight ends. We'll also have Christian McCaffrey running routes out of the backfield. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Then you flip it to the other side of the ball. I think the front 7 of the all-white squad is going to be good. We're in real good shape with the pass rush because we'll have the Bosa brothers, Watt, Crosby. So we're getting to the quarterback all day long on the white squad. The big issue, obviously, is going to be on the back end, like the defensive backfield. There are, and I checked just to make sure, there are no white cornerbacks in the league at all. Like, they don't exist. I think the last one was in might have been Jason Sehorn in 2002 or something. It's been a long time. So we're going to have to get creative in the backfield, find some guys on a practice squad, throw some linebackers back in coverage, and we're going to have to get to the quarterback is what we're going to have to do. He's just not, it's like he's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly because we're going to have to get to the quarterback, put a lot of pressure on him. But keep in mind something else. Championship squad has to be great in all three phases. Defense, offense, special teams. And I think the white squad's doing well in special teams. So the whites, we don't have any cornerbacks. Black squad, you have no kickers. So you're in trouble. You got no field goal kickers. You got no punters. We got all that. We got kickers and punters all day. So black squad gets into a situation where they got, where they're deep in their own on their own side of the field, and they got to, it's 4th and 10 or something. What are they going to do? They can't punt. So they're going to be in 4-down territory the entire game. Maybe that works in their favor. Maybe it doesn't. I'm looking at a high-scoring game. I think it's probably 47-40. Who has the 47? I think it could kind of go either way. There are some question marks here, though. What do you do about Pacific Islanders? There's one Asian guy in the NFL. He's a kicker also. Where do you put them? I think probably they just can't play. I think we have to just exclude them. And so it could be a bonding moment for the black and white squads because they're going to come together to discriminate against these other two groups, which that doesn't happen very often. So, there's that opportunity there. I think we got to, they just, for this game, I think it's not fair to put them on either side. So they're not going to be involved. Real interesting question is the biracial players. What do you do about Patrick Mahomes, biracial? Both teams are going to want him. What do you do about that? I think the fairest thing is whatever race the player's mother is what team they're on. So white mom means they're on the white team, black mom means they're on the black team, which I think means that the white squad gets Patrick Mahomes, I'm pretty sure. And here's the best part of all, that coming off the bench for the white team could be Colin Kaepernick. Now, I wouldn't want him to throw the ball at all because he sucks, but I just want him to have one snap on the white team, just because that'd be hilarious, and it'd make the whole thing worth it. And you imagine a situation, that's the Rudy moment, that's the twist ending. Imagine the white squad wins in the racial scrimmage, and Colin Kaepernick is carried out triumphantly on the shoulders of the white team. It'd be a lot of fun. You have to admit. So Rashard Mendenhall is a terrible racist, but at the same time, it's not the worst idea in the world. Let's just be honest.